Okay, everyone, we're back after the break. I'm so excited about this. I really am very excited about this. We're going to start today with a little intro, and hopefully we'll start the piece. We're going to be learning Meimor HaDor from Rav Kook. My generation, the generation. And, I've been learning Rav Kook probably for close to 10 years. But in the last 5 years, much more seriously, maybe the last 5 years, 6 years more seriously. And then since October 7th, we've been learning Rav Kook every single day, working through his svarim, going through everything. And I'm enamored by this tzaddik. I'm smitten. I really am. I was thinking I'm smitten by his teachings and by everything that he says. I love it. And the second I learned Meimor HaDor, I'm like, I have to learn this with people. I want to share this to the world. And I'm so excited. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going to do full justice to everything Rav Kook says here. But I just learned it, and I felt so validated and feel so much direction for our generation, my generation. Like the Who song, talking about my generation. And Rav Kook was so new and so old. He was so advanced, but he was so old. And what we're going to be learning about is how what started in Rav Kook's generation was a new ore started to come down, and that caused a shviras hakelim, that caused a broken vessels. And this manifests within the people. And Rav Kook was living in the new yishuv. He wrote this Meimor in 1905, 1906, and he was living in the new yishuv, and Rav Kook was surrounded by a new generation of Zionists, and they rejected religion, but they brought passion and self-sacrifice and mesiras nefesh. And most of the Rabbanim of that day, in Rav Kook's day, they viewed the Zionist movement and they viewed the generation as balei taiva, bums, low people, kofrim, heretics. And Rav Kook saw them as holy new souls bringing down a new light into Israel. And we're going to see as we develop this, we're going to learn this for the next bunch of weeks. We'll work on this, how Rav Kook saw them, what does that mean for us. It's also understood that Rav Kook was the great tzaddik, and his words are prophecy. His words are nevuah, his prophetic visions. And we're going to see some of that today, hopefully, and as we learn this. And he wasn't just talking about his generation, historically, even though he was talking about his generation. But he writes later in the piece that even though you don't see this in the generation at all, this is all there in potential. So Rav Kook saw the light amongst the darkness once again, like last year we were learning Orot Ma'ofel, light from darkness, right? And Rav Kook again saw in the Choshech, he was able to see the light of the new souls. And he has a whole philosophy around that. So it's amazing what we're going to be learning. And if Rav Kook said it in his generation, when he writes himself, even though I'm saying all this, none of this has come to fruition, right? They haven't acted in any great holy way whatsoever. It's certainly true in our generation that this has began to blossom. That there's a new Or Chadash Al Tzion Tair, there's a new light coming down. The generation, the old tricks of fear, anxiety, doesn't work. And love will free us all, right? And Rav Kook says this straight out, so it's not just someone just philosophizing or just saying my own worldview over here. Rav Kook spells this out very clearly, and we're gonna get into that. So it's amazing. So what I was thinking, it's not always easy to introduce pieces from Rav Kook, so let's just start with the Aleph base, okay? It's called Hador. It's one essay amongst larger essays in a section called Ikvei HaTzon. Okay, let me just some basic things over here. There's a sefer from Rav Kook called Eder HaYakar, which is about his father-in-law. It's an amazing. It's all about the milas of tzaddikim and the great midos that one needs to attain. Behind that is printed this section called Ikvei HaTzon. In Ikvei HaTzon, there's a bunch of different Meimorim. And maybe throughout this year we'll go through the entire Ikvei HaTzon. Maybe not, we'll see. But the first Meimor in Ikvei HaTzon is Meimor HaDor, our generation. So Ikvei HaTzon starts with almost a prologue. See, just like showing to the camera over here. It's a prologue over here. And then the next page is HaDor. Okay? So I want to start with the prologue because I think that would be a great place to start, just to introduce this beyond the history. At that time? So Meimor HaDor was written in 1905 and 1906, but Rav Tzvi Yehuda, it wasn't printed during Rav Kook's lifetime, actually, and Rav Tzvi Yehuda printed it after Rav Kook passed away. That makes sense, right? You could see maybe why he didn't want to print it during his lifetime, and there was a lot of controversy, you know. But Rav Kook also, in this essay, he gives like a historical analysis, you know, as Rav Kook is always putting God in history and showing how the process of history is always moving us forward. It's always, you know, choser v'oleh. It's always, our world history is constantly in a process, engaging in the process of Geula, right? So it's always going upward. So Rav Kook saw this, what was going on in his generation, as part of the process of Geula, because in the world of Kookian thought, in the world of Rav Kook, everything was only headed towards one place, Geula, right? So the whole world history and everything was always moving forward, and that's classic Rav Kook. That's classic Rav Kook, yeah? Okay, so we're going to start with the prologue to the Sefer. Okay, and that you have on the top of the photocopies. Okay, so it says, I'm going to start with the pasuk over here. Okay, we're going to start. It brings a pasuk in Shiur HaShirim. It says, Tze'ei lecha be'ikvei HaTzon. Go and look at the heels. Go and follow the heels of the sheep. Okay, now I'm going to read the full pasuk. This is Shiur HaShirim, pasuk Ches. Okay, I'm going to start with pasuk Zayin beforehand, the pasuk before, just to give it a runner. And we know Shiur HaShirim is a love song between a husband and wife, Am Yisrael and Hashem, right? And in this metaphor over here, the wife is talking, we're going to pick up, and then the husband is responding. And we're going to see the wife is Am Yisrael, where the Malchus, the husband is Hashem, and we're going to see. So we're going to back it up a pasuk just to get the full context, because it's amazing. It's just amazing how this is the prologue, you know? It's like, what do you do with this? It's amazing. Okay. So I'm going to read, Higida li, it's just pasuk Zayin. Shiur HaShirim Perek Aleph. Hagida li she'ava nafshi, eicha tira, eicha tarbis b'tzarayim, shalama eya keoteya al idrei chavirecha. So the wife is talking and she says, tell me, you whom my soul loves, where do you graze your flock? Where do you rest your flock at noon? For why should I flit about around the flocks of your companions? Meaning to say, Hashem, we're saying to Hashem, Hashem, I love you. Tell me, my love, where are you? Where do you graze your flock? Where should I go in order to meet your sheep? Right? Where do I find you in this world? Am Yisrael saying. And Hashem says back, and this the husband says back, Im lo teidei lecha, if you do not know, hayafe benashim, my most beautiful woman, tze'i lecha be'ikvei HaTzon, go forth in the footsteps of the sheep. Tze'i lecha be'ikvei HaTzon, go forth, go and look at the heels, the ikvev, ekev is a heel of the sheep. Ure'i eskedosayich, and the pastures of your kids, al mishkenos harayim, near the dwellings of the shepherds. It's a mysterious love song, right? So, Am Yisrael tells Hashem, where can I find you? And Hashem responds back, oh, my beautiful love. Right? Hashem says to us, Oh, my beautiful nation, my beautiful love, you know where? Go and find in the heels of the sheep and the pasture of your kids. So romantic, right? Okay, so Rav Kook says now, what is this mysterious? To eat, look at the heels of the sheep. What does that mean? So Rav Kook says, he brings the medrash, right? Te'i lecha be'ikvei HaTzon. Go and look at the heels of the sheep, right? So Hashem saying, if you want to find me, go look at the heels of the sheep. Milamed, the medrash says, Milamed shehara lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe kol parnesei Yisrael ador ha'achron ad ha'ekev. It teaches us that Hashem showed Moshe all the people that sustained the generation, that sustained Yisrael throughout all the generations, ad hador ha'achron, until the final generation, ad ha'ekev. Meaning to say, if you want to know where you can find me, Hashem showed Moshe all the people that sustained the generation until the coming of Mashiach, until the final generation. Meaning to say the Ikvei HaTzon, the heels of the sown, the lowest part of the flock, which is Am Yisrael. Go and look at the Akev, the very last, the lowest, most brute, the sof, the heel. The lowest part, the part that you don't even think about, right? The one that steps in the mud. So Hashem showed Moshe all the souls from Moshe's time till the beginning of end, our time. And he said, look at the lowest people of the flock. Look at the Ikvei HaTzon, the lowest people of Am Yisrael. That's where Mashiach is going to come from. Is that amazing? I get goosebumps saying this, right? Where's the Geula going to come from? From specifically the lowest, the Ikvei HaTzon, the people that are the most far out. As we started, this was written in 1905, when Rav Kook was looking at the new Yishuv, and everyone's like, they're kofrim, they're shkatzim, they're bums, they're going to destroy Klal Yisrael. Rav Kook is saying, no. It's that generation, it's my generation that's going to bring the Geula. If you want to know where the Geula is going to come from, it's going to come from the lowest. Okay, we're done for today. We're done. We could just stop here. Is that amazing? I saw this. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Okay, now we're going to start the actual Meimor. That was all by way of introduction. Right, Rav Kook saw the Ikvei HaTzon, the heels of Mashiach, the final generation, the birth pangs of Mashiach. Now we're going to start. Now, these are Rav Kook's prophetic words, and he starts with a lament. We're going to see it's more like a kina, almost, he starts with. And Rav Kook is, like we learned in Chacham Adaf Menavi in the Zronim section in previous shiurim, we learned that it was the job of the prophet to reflect the feelings of the generation. We learned that it was the artists, the musicians, the Nevi'im that were mirroring and reflecting the feelings of the generation. They didn't know necessarily how to fix it, right? They didn't know, like Chacham Adad, the Chacham knows how to get from point A to point B, right? But the Navi's reflecting. So here we're going to see a piece as we start where Rav Kook is really reflecting. Okay? So it starts Hador, the generation. Hamakov Hagadol, the great pain. Hamedake es hanefesh beyagonora v'iyum, that depresses the soul with sadness and wonder, like the great depression, anxiety, angst, worry, racing thoughts, sadness, shame. Hamatsuyu b'derenu belev kol mi shechoshev me'at machshava v'huga me'at deya, that is found in our generation, in my generation, belev kol mi shechoshev me'at, that's found in the heart of any person who thinks even a little bit, has a little bit of thought, v'huga me'at deya, and is fitting and wants a little bit of awareness. Beyichud imhu gam kein muchshar lekabel hargasha adina v'yashar b'livavo ein letar v'lesaper. The great pain of the depression that's found in our generation, for any thinking person who wants a little bit, beyichud im gam kein muchshar lekabel hargasha adina v'yashar b'livavo, that's co-joined together with a person who is fitting for refinement and feeling and straightness of the heart, ein leta'er ve'ein lesaper. There are no words to begin to articulate that pain. Meaning to say, there are no words to articulate the inner anxiety and the inner depression and sadness that a person feels when they themselves understand that they're fitting for goodness, that they want to have connection, they want to have good feelings, they want to have everything that is upright and just in the world, but yet they can't attain that. So you have these two counterforces, the desire and want for more, but yet the inability to act upon that and do that, right? That pain, there are no words that could describe that. Niduyim v'nimugim hinenu lemare dor shalem. Cast out, like niduis, like put in exiled v'nimugim, set aside, hinenu lemare dor shalem. We see this for an entire generation. Avas ubanim yachtav shel uma shlema. Father and children together within Uma Shlema, with the entire nation, right? So he's speaking for the whole generation now, right? The amount of pain that one feels, an entire generation feels cast aside with the inability to express themselves. Avu Subanam, father and son. It's like, are the parents, us as parents, are we really that different than our children, right? That it's not like the parents are tzaddikim and the kids are bums. The parents are also not so great. Struggling, all wrapped up in the same thing. Phone addiction and all sorts of shame and psychopathology, right? And anxiety. Father and children struggling with the same thing, you know? It's like I was once working with a parent and they brought their kid for pornography use that their kid was using, and I was speaking to the father, and the father also admitted to me, you know, that he was in 12 steps for porn addiction. So it's father and son together, struggling in the same thing, an entire generation. Not only that, Yachdu shel Uma Shlema, the entire nation struggling. Hamitapech bechevleo be'anos v'noras umetsuke shaul. That is hamitapech bechevlo. That is like flipped upside down. Be'anos nora umutsuke shaul, with tremendous, again, anxiety and pain, umitsuke shaul, from the depths of the bottomless pit, the dark side, the underworld. Hamik ha'ka'av kol kach gadol. This pain is so great, ad shenuto mimenu gam kein es kishron hadibur. And this pain is so great until so much so that we're unable, the power of speech, to articulate what it is that we're actually feeling. We can't even find the words. It's like you work with someone and so common. You know, simple questions. How do you feel about that? I don't know. What about this? I don't know. What are you actually feeling? I don't know. Right? I don't know. Right? You get a lot of I don't knows, right? But the thing is that because the pain is so deep, it's so subconscious, it's so real, right? That we can't even articulate it. It reminds me of the shofar, you know, like the unarticulated scream. Ah. Okay? Einenu yachol b'shum ofen afilu l'saper es tzarasav. We cannot come in any way whatsoever, even to explain our pain. B'dibor muvan umavor, in any way that makes understandable sense. Shezeh bevadahi umekil lo harbe, because if we were able to articulate our pain and put it into words, then of course it would lighten the load, right? Classic therapy, go to articulate yourself and speak to someone. As the Gemara says, worries in your heart, speak it out to a friend, right? And this, it's like mamish therapy, like you have this deep pain or felt sense that you can't even begin to articulate. And if you were able to find the right words to express that pain, you'd feel better, at least somewhat. It would lighten the load. It's not going to solve all your life issues, But as Rav Kook is saying, just finding the language that lights up those boxes in your brain, the language centers, the pleasure centers, would already give kalim to that giant ore that you're feeling to articulate yourself. And of course that would lighten the load. And it would be mamtik. It would make sweet to whatever measure the pain in a person's heart, levavo harchavot, and it would expand the heart. You feel, right after a good therapy session, feel lightened. Yesh lo dibor, the generation has speech of a lo lesaper negei levavo, but we don't use it to speak out the pains of our heart. Leman yurach lo, in order to give us some space. I need space. Give me space. I need space. Ki im levazos ulecharef o lehitkatzef ulekalel. What do we use our speech for? We use it to embarrass, to shame ourselves, or to make ourselves resentful and angry, ulekalel, and curse. Rav Kook is saying that people no longer know how to, we in his generation, certainly in our generation, we no longer know how to express ourselves using language, to articulate our deepest fears, our deepest worries, our deepest anxieties. So instead, what do? We talk about other people.
Lash out.
What?
We lash out.
We lash out. We talk about. We try to control. We try to manipulate. We shame ourselves. We tell ourselves we're not worthy. We become cynical. We speak bad, right? So someone hurt me, so now I just speak bad about them, right? Because the pain and talking about the pain and acknowledging the pain would be too scary. And this is a malady not only on the individual level, as Rav Kook is saying, he's saying this about his generation and our generation. Rav Kook is saying, my generation is so deep that they can't even begin to articulate the subconscious pain. So instead, we curse and we shame. And this is what he's saying, right? That the inner anxiety and shame that a person feels comes from the fact we know we have this, where he says over here, means our generation feels this pain because it's combined with the knowledge that we're so great at the same time. We know that we're so great, yet we find the inability to act upon, articulate, and express ourselves properly. And that's what shame is, right? It's exactly what shame is. Shame is, right, when I know I'm acting against my highest ideals, or I'm acting abhorrently, or I'm not living up to the greatness that I think I should be attaining. And in that gap of understanding that I'm not living up to the greatness that I think I should be obtaining creates this deep inner angst, this deep inner shame. And then from that, we lash out, we become cynical. And it doesn't even mean that we're lashing out on other people. If we'd open up and see what's under the hood, cut open the brain and look in the mind, it's our inner monologue with ourselves of constantly telling ourselves we're no good, we didn't do anything, we're not well enough, I'm not doing this, not to be happy with our mitzvahs, not to see the Kedusha that's in us. And then when we find the Kedusha, we shame ourselves because we're like, oh, see, I'm capable of good things, but I'm not really acting upon them, right? Or nothing ever worked out. Our inner monologue, our inner voice is running ourselves down. And that even doesn't get articulated to other people, right? And I always think that that's the word shame. The word shame in Hebrew means name, right? When you're not living up to your name, which is your true identity, which is your mission in this world, and you feel that gap between what you feel like you're supposed to be doing and meant to be doing and not doing it, you're not living up to your shame. And that causes shame. Okay, next paragraph. Hatzara ha'iyuma haruchanis v'hachamrit yachdav oy. Okay, hatzara ha'iyumit haruchnit v'chamrit yachad oy. Right, this tremendous spiritual pain and physical pain joined together. Oy. Right, this is the lament of it. Oy. Hachashicha es olamenu has darkened our world. Nitla et ziv hakavod mechayenu has taken the splendor of honor from our lives. Nechshechu einenu melahakir es kavod atzmenu. It has darkened ourselves to see our own self-worth and our own self-value. Kavod atzmenu, our own honor. The yardnu, right? What's the malady? No self-esteem, no self-love. Not feeling worthy to be loved by other people. And we've descended into the low places of our nation feeling disgraced. Right? This whole thing, October 7th with Hamas, it's a busha. Everyone feels the shame of what happened. How this happened. Sharcharfos and the embarrassment, hagidufim and the curses, v'haklalot, right? It's amazing how in Yiddishkeit there's so many words for shame. There's gaduf, cherpa, right? Bizui, shafel, right? Klima, right? There's all sorts of words that David HaMelech, even in Tehillim, uses for embarrassment, right? V'chol tchuna zuhamat v'ketzufa hu lach lechamim hatmidi, and any kol tchuna, any movement zoamet of like screaming, the ketsufa, and short-temperedness, right, hastiness, hu lechamim hatmidi. Our generation is constantly battling. Right, as I once heard Reb Leibish say, it's like he's talking about slaying inner dragons in his poetic way. He's like, it's like, I once heard him say, he's like, we're slaying inner dragons, but no one knows, you know? Like, this inner thing, you know? Lu haya be'emes ze archenu. It's true. If this was actually our worth, liot chadle ishim, in order to be low people, v'chashuche kol kavod, and to be people darkened with no honor, az bevadei lo hayu dava al ze livno, then of course we wouldn't be so worried. All right, that's my lot in life. That's how we're supposed to be. The avon halev yimsa ra kishesherim kishesharayim holchim ke'avdim el haaretz. Right, this depressed heart, yimsa ra kishesharayim holchim ke'avdim el haaretz, only happens when the remainder is scattered throughout the land. When people that are actually honorable and valuable and precious, right? Am Yisrael, the most honorable and valuable, right? Bereshis, B'Sril Yisrael Nikra Rashis, right? Yisrael, Yashar Kel, Im Sirisa Le'Elokim, right? The nation that goes straight to God, right? It'd be one thing if we were supposed to be lowly. Fine, I'll be lowly. I don't mind. But we're not. When we're this precious, when our generation, we know we're honorable, but yet when we're denigrated and embarrassed, until we ourselves forget our honor and our true value. Re'ei Hashem ve'abita ki hayisi zolela. Right, and that's a pasuk in Eicha. Look Hashem, Re'ei, see Hashem, ve'habita, and look ki hayisi zolela. I have become denigrate. I have become zolela, like zolel, like just. I picture like Yirmiyah just in tattered clothing and the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash and like everything that happened in Eicha. Look, I've become scornful. You know? So it is the anguish that proves our holiness. The very fact that we're bothered by the thing that we're bothered by is the very thing that shows that we're kadosh. Right? It's like, I always think about this, like, a person is bothered by different maladies and different mental health issues and different midos and different things that we have in our life. And that bother causes us pain, because deeper than the bother, deeper the pain only comes from a place of wanting to get better, right? That I'm not where I think I'm supposed to be and I want to get better. So that pain actually shows our sanity, right? That pain actually shows that the well-being, the dysfunction that we're currently in, only comes because there's a deeper or within that, right? So Rav Kook is saying over here that the deeper that our anguish and the pain that the generation is feeling only comes because the very fact that we know we're meant for greatness and holy. It's like you look around the world, right? Like Rabbi Nachman says in Torah Aleph, the chen, the chashivas of Yisrael has fallen, right? And we look around the world and we're like, what's going on here? But he's saying not even looking around the world, that there's a deeper subconscious pain that the entire generation feels. Fathers, sons, women and daughter, mothers, children, parents, grandparents, siblings, right? Son-in-laws, this whole great cosmos of our generation is feeling, and we don't have this subconscious pain. We don't have the inability. We have the inability to articulate that pain. So it's an amazing thing. Rav Kook is speaking both for the old yishuv and the new yishuv. Both for the right. He's speaking to the old yishuv of the generation in his time, the Rabban of the generation, and is saying that there's deep pain, that you're bothered by the new generation who's throwing off everything in Torah. And it comes out in cursing them and putting them in chayrim and speaking bad about them. And he's talking to the new generation saying, you also have this deep pain. Fathers and sons together, right? Like Bar Ilan and and Achad Ha'am and all these people of the generation, right? The Berlin, they were, he was talking to both in one shot, saying, all of you are wrapped up in subconscious pain because we know our greatness and you're not there and we're not there. So what happens? Communication breaks down. Communication breakdown. Oh, Led Zeppelin song. It's communication breakdown, right? The communication breakdown between both it's not even to one another. It's within ourselves. We can't even articulate and light up the pleasure sensors in our brain from writing the used language because we're completely unaware of the pain that we're actually feeling. And even the level of pain that we are feeling, there's a level of subconscious pain even deeper than that we don't find the ability to articulate. Amazing. I saw this. I felt so validated by it. Felt so validated by speaking to this great pain that we all feel. And we're like, what's up? And Rav Kook is talking about the entire generation. He's talking about the entire generation. And if this was true in Rav Kook's days, it's certainly true in our days. Because in Rav Kook's days, there was a new light coming down. And this shattered the old vessels. This shattered, right? That Rav Kook understands that when a new ore comes down, you have to get rid of the old. And it's not necessarily that you have to get rid of the old, that the halacha and the framework is not good, but you have to do it with a different ore. The inner ore that needs to take place within the halachic framework needs to be one of love, needs to be one of passion, needs to be one of broad-mindedness. And he's going to just foreshadowing a little bit what we're going to get into, right? It's like you have to do, I think it's this week's Parsha, it says that Avram went to Avimelech, and when Avimelech went to, when Avram went to Avimelech, this is Reb Shlomo Carlebach, I heard Reb Shlomo Carlebach say this once, it's like an amazing thing, that when Avram went to Avimelech, Avimelech fed Abraham a suda of bread, of wine and bread. So what was the message? The message, Reb Shlomo says, the message that Avimelech was teaching Abraham is that wine is only good when it's old, and bread is only good when it's fresh. You have to take the old teachings and teach them in a fresh new way. It's classic Reb Shlomo, classic Reb Shlomo. That Rav Kook is beginning to show that there's this great pain that is happening amongst Am Yisrael. And it started in his generation because there was this new light coming down, and the disintegration is leading to a shvira only to lead to a tikkun. That something new is being rebuilt, something greater is being rebuilt. Let us be zocheh to recognize this, and all of us, the fathers, the sons, the men, the women, everyone together. And I'm just excited to start this, to jump right into this with everyone. Everyone, good Shabbos.
It's like any revolution. When a new thing has to break out, that's where it's shiur sakelim.
Right, like any revolution.
Start something new.
All right. This is amazing, guys.
Yes, great.
It's amazing.